Hey guys, I'd like to invite you to come out to Roots Young Adults right here at Mountain View in the Outback. It's starting at 7 on Tuesdays. It's going to be a great time every Tuesday, a worship, a fellowship, a great message. We're going to have food. We're going to have a great time just learning together and building together as a community, as a family, and as young adults. Thank you guys.
My name is Will Ellerby, and I'd like to invite you to come out to the Clay on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock in the Sunday School wing here at Mountain View Baptist Church. We're primarily a young family all the way to engaged couples, small group, primarily focused on just kind of molding together for God's glory. So please feel free to come check us out Wednesday nights. Childcare is provided, Mom and Dad. See you there.
Hey, folks, want to let you know we're in, I think it's episode or part or Bible study 13. 13, the life of Joseph. And we're not going to be in Genesis this time, though. We're going to actually be in the book of Hebrews, okay? In the book of Hebrews, chapter 12. And I want to go through some verses here and then talk through this. I think it's important that we know some of this and we understand the connection between the Hebrews passages and what Joseph is going through in his life. So let's Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that has been set before us. Run this race with patience, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. Remember what Jesus went through. Now think about what it is you're going through. Ye have not resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord. Despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, and he scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. He's going to discipline those he loves. He's going to discipline those he loves. If you're his child, he's going to discipline you. Okay. That's a good thing. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if he be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then ye are bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we give them reverence. That we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits. Wouldn't you rather be in subjection to the Father of spirits? I mean, we give the people on this planet, those who discipline us, reverence. That's not so much true anymore, but it's supposed to be true. And so let's keep going. For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward ye yieldeth the peaceable fruit of the righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Listen carefully to me, okay? We are disciplined of the Lord because he loves us. Don't get so caught up. Hebrews is teaching us what Joseph is going through some hard times, okay? But he is making him a brand new type of leader. He's helping them to become something. Helping him to become something we never would have thought imaginable. Now, he may not be pulling you through what you're going through to be a leader, but he may be pulling you through what he's pulling you through to help others who are going through the same thing. The Bible does teach this also. But he's helping you he's developing you. He's making you exactly the instrument he needs. He's whittling you. My papa used to whittle a stick or something like that, and he's whittling you. He's making something out of you. And sometimes that hurts as it's being peeled away. This is what's happening in the case of Joseph. And look, God is going to discipline us, and not just in the sense of discipline you because you've done something wrong, but certainly going to place discipline within you. Okay, if you want to be the greatest runner out there, you've got to discipline yourself in such a way that you are strong. Okay, you've got to discipline yourself in such a way that you're giving up something, that you're hurting away. That you have to, it has to cause you displeasure in order to get pleasure later on. Okay, you pay for it now. No pain, no gain. That's the oldest thing that we keep. Old thing. Athletes who want nothing more than to be incredible athletes. Okay, the only way they can be exceptional athletes. There may be some, there may be some genetic issues. They're larger, they're stronger, they're faster, things like that. But unless they train, they're just a bunch of lazy lard. I mean, it's just all there is to it. Okay, they've got to train. They've got to train hard. Okay, train harder than you'll actually compete. That's really the key here. Awful lot of yip yap about how hard the University of Georgia practices or the University of Alabama. All these football teams practice hard. I'm not trying to say they don't, but there's been an awful lot of yip yap about how hard these teams play because a lot of people get injured even in practice. But the key here is that the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in war, is what the old war saying is. The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in war. And so the idea is you have to go through these things to make you who you're going to be. You say, well, I want to lose weight, but there's going to be a certain amount of distress associated with that, okay? And if you're doing it the right way, a certain amount of stress is involved in that. And somebody will say, well, listen, somebody can lose weight by getting this surgery or that surgery. Well, yeah, but even after that, they got to stay disciplined. They got to stay disciplined to stay that size. So yeah, you get to a certain size, but you got to be disciplined in order to stay that size. So it is all a matter of that, and it's all a matter of going through that. It's why you have boot camps. It's why you have tough leaders in military and in other places. I mean, coaches, all of these things that are out there. Why there are more difficult teachers than others. Why there are more difficult professors, because they're creating something out of you that you wouldn't have normally believed was in you, or would not have even strived to see in you. This race that you're in. Joseph very well may have just been content to be to handle the sheep. May have been just content to handle everything that was around him, and just say, hey, listen, this is the life I want. But because he was forced into situations, because he was forced into some of the hard things in life, then he had to adapt, he had to learn. And because his character was there was no one had a character better than Joseph, in a sense. Because other than Jesus himself, but there was nobody had a better character about him and a better way about him than Joseph, and he had to remain disciplined. Whether it was sexual temptation, whether it was the temptation to just scream out and holler to God and get me out of here, the temptation to do a number of things he possibly could have done that he did not do. It is a case of having to make sure that we understand that God is working in the midst of our trouble and pain. And I know this seems like every segment's about that, but this is Joseph's life. He's going through these things. He's having to suffer through this stuff. So when we see this, we're like, wait a second. I don't know if I can do this. If you want to be used like Joseph was used, okay? If you want to be used like Joseph was used, you've got to go through what Joseph went through in the sense of being in the crucible, being in the stretcher, making being in the gym to work out to get into a certain shape, or different things that you can do, the diet that you have to be on, fasting and prayer. Fasting's another issue there. You have to give a little bit of yourselves and sacrifice a little bit of yourselves and your body and your desires and those kind of things. You have to sacrifice those in order to see the deeply spiritual happen in your life. Sometimes that's the case. We have to fast and pray. So this is what happened, in a nutshell for this segment in Hebrews. Remember, this is hard stuff. This is training. It's training through the chastisement. James 1:4 says this: "But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire and want nothing." Okay, and the word perfect means mature, complete. So you want to let patience be a part of that. It takes patience. Everything that you're trying to accomplish is going to take time, and it's incremental in action. Yes, it may seem like all of a sudden everything good falls into your lap, but it took a lot of successive, big time, hard steps to get to where it is you're going. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Hey, Mountain View, segment 14 of the life of Joseph. We're just getting really good in here now, so let's just get right into it. Get to deciding what we want to do with the rest of this. I mean, my goodness, there's a lot here. And we have just skimmed the surface through even these 14, 15 that we're going to do. We just skimmed the surface. So what a rich book. I wish I could have even spent more time in detail in the others, but you would have thought, man, he went through 3 verses. What are we supposed to do there? So, but we've moved pretty good. All right, so chapter 41. We'll be in chapter 41 of Genesis. Okay, so we're in chapter 41, verses 1 through 14, so quite a few verses. So if you will, follow along with me. It says this: "And it came to pass at the end of the 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 of the kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and the lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine, so that Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed the second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up from one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, and all the wise men thereof, and Pharaoh told them his dream. But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in the ward and the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant of the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was, me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Verse 14, Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out to the dungeon, and he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. Now, just a quick note, shaving himself, that really had nothing to do with, our lesson here. But it does have meaning. It does have meaning. Coming into the presence of Pharaoh, they didn't grow beards like Joseph would have. We think that Joseph would have been without a beard this whole time, but no. He's Hebrew, so when he worked in Potiphar's court, of course, he was probably clean shaven. But at this point, he doesn't have to do that. So he's making sure he's clean shaven, and maybe it is that he doesn't have a beard, but he just needs to shave. So he's shaved. He's going to come in there. He's going to be clean and ready to go. He's going to be ready to go, and he's going to be there before Pharaoh. But going back, let's talk about this just for a minute. Finally, the butler realizes. Now, remember when we were talking about the butler had forgotten everything there was everything he was supposed to do for Joseph. He was supposed to tell them, hey, look here, about this Joseph. He's helped us. Let's get him out. But God's timing, okay? Always remember that God has a specific timing for each and every event. We talk about that. So Joseph has been praying, and certainly praying that God would find a way for him to get through this. The butler is sitting there. Then Pharaoh has a couple of dreams, and in these dreams, he's got these cows of such that eat. He has the fatter cows and the leaner cows, and the leaner cows eat the bigger ones. He has the corn, and the thinner corn eats basically devours the better corn. And he said, I can't figure this thing out. And all the magicians, everybody come to him, and they're trying different things, and it's just not working. I'm going to tell you, this world system has no clue. Now, there are an awful lot of people that can make it through thinking that the world can predict the future and all these different things like that, and that they're going to go to the lady that can read their palm, or they're going to go to this that can read the knots on their head, or their whatever happens to be, just craziness. And I think the world's wisdom is there. But God is working. If God is working within his anointed person, if there's a man or woman out there that he has anointed with the Holy Spirit to do certain works, and he has anointed all of us in a sense to do what work we've been called to, okay? That's a different story. But called you to a huge and specific work in this, then there's this calling in the midst of all of this is going to be evident. It's going to be something that's going to put you in a position to be in authority. But the world system is just going to lead you to destruction. You might be able to make some money, might be able to find a little bit of happiness on the side, but without Jesus Christ, we don't even make it to heaven, eternity in hell. It's awful. The world's wisdom, this is what Pharaoh finds out. The world's wisdom is not going to lead you anywhere but destruction. It is God's wisdom. It is God's wisdom that will help us through and get us through. And so then Pharaoh says, fine, go get him. Bring him here. Joseph is coming in there to finally come in there to start this process of becoming who God is making him to be. So suddenly it's like, okay, I'm going to Pharaoh's court. I can actually defend myself maybe. But he's coming there to answer this question of what the dream means. Now, what's critical here, critical for us to understand is, okay, God is finally doing something in him. The person who has been going through all of this pain, the person who's been going through all of this suffering, is finally getting to see how this plan all worked. You mean you're telling me that I had to go through this pain? I had to go through this suffering. I had to go through this pit. I had to go through being sold. I had to be going through being falsely accused. I had to fall through service, year after year of service, being in a prison, the captain's main man. I had to go through all of this stuff in order to get to this point. He still doesn't exactly know what's going to happen, but he knows he's going to be clean shaven. He's going there and he's going to see some good and big things happen. Listen to this. The secret of the Lord is with them that fear him. Psalm 25:14. Those things that we wonder about and we're so confused about. If you fear the Lord, meaning you reverence him and you believe that he is, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, all of those things. If you believe that, then folks, that fear, that reverence of the Lord and knowing that he can do anything he so chooses when he chooses, that is going to help unlock the secrets of the life that you're supposed to live. It just is. Fear him, revere him, and you will know exactly what it is God has for you. And he will begin to put you in a place where you can begin to see how all of the puzzle pieces work together. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Hey, Mountain View, episode 15, Bible study 15, however you ever want to look at it. And so this will end our month together, and then the other staff will have their months as such. I'm going to start back up. Of course, we'll start right back here in Genesis and talk through the life of Joseph again, probably finishing up during that time. Okay, so we are in chapter 41. Chapter 41, we're going to read verses 25. Okay, so that means I'm going to be turning the page right here. We're going to be reading verses 25 through 36. 25 through 36. And I tell you what, let's do. Since this is our last little segment, I want to actually read a little bit more than that. I'm going to start with verse 15, and I'm going to go through 36. And I know that's quite a few verses, but I want you guys to hang on. And let's cover this entire body here and do that. All right, 41, starting with 15, says this. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I've dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret. And I have heard say thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of a river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 of the kine came up out of after them, poor and very ill-favored, lean-fleshed, such as I had never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up with one stalk, full and good, and behold, 7 ears, withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. God hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kind that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. There shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in that land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, and the land perish, and through the famine. Okay, let's look at what's being said here. He says, Pharaoh, here's what we got, okay? The 7 kine and the seven ears of corn, what we're looking at are 7 years. We're looking at 7 years of plenty, which are those fat ones, the fat kine and the fat ears of corn. Those are the good years. The good years and it's so true. It's so true. In our lives, we have to make sure that during the good times that we're saving enough for the bad times, putting things up for a rainy day, basically. But even better than that we are planning ahead and believing that we can even build some of that so that we can have things when it is more than a rainy day, but a rainy month. Joseph says, hey, I've got this. I've got what God's trying to tell me. There's going to be 7 years of plenty. There's going to be 7 years of famine. That famine is going to be so bad. He gave you the dream twice. That dream is so bad, it's going to happen whether you like it or not. You have dreamed the dream twice in a row. It's going to happen no matter what. But here's the thing. There is a provision here. Say, get you someone to run this show. Get you someone to run it. Okay, put him some officers under him, and while there is plenty, store up some plenty so that you can feed those people when there's next to nothing. Instead of printing money, government, have plenty set aside in the sense that you can help in situations where there's tragedy in a nation. Nobody wants to think about these things anymore. But it's like, make sure you're making preparation and planning ahead, that you know what's happening around you, that you're willing to store up. And look what God's doing with Joseph. It's such an amazing thing to see what God is doing on all this. Okay, so he said, Joseph, I've taken you all through all this. And Joseph may be seeing some of this. He may be recognizing what God is doing, but he may not be recognizing what God is doing. So he's there. He's like, hey, man, you guys need to get somebody to run this show and get officers under them so they can start planning this thing. This is a massive planning. I mean, you're talking about the entire land that's going to be going through famine, not just this little bitty part of Egypt. It's going to be the entire land. So you've got to plan. You've got to plan accordingly. Everything he had been through when he was working in Potiphar's house, okay, everything in the pit and going through the hard times. There are going to be hard times coming. He gets sold to Potiphar's house. He feels abandoned. Well, he knows what that feels like, okay? And he's a great character working in Potiphar's house. He has to be falsely accused. My goodness, here it comes again. Being falsely accused. Think about Jesus being falsely accused. There's the life of Joseph and Jesus and a lot of parallels in that. But Jesus being falsely accused and being mocked at by his brothers and such as that. And so he's going through all this. And while he's going through this, he's learning, when he goes to prison, he's learning how to run that prison. He's learning how to talk to people and communicate with people and lead people and pull people along, and he's learning all these different things. And see, all of this seems so terrible to him, and it really was terrible events, but terrible and good ones happening together. God is creating this. Now he's able to put him in front of Pharaoh, like Moses, able to put him in front of Pharaoh, talking to Pharaoh and having access to Pharaoh. What an amazing thing. Had he gotten out of prison way too soon, he would have never made it to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh wouldn't have given a rip. But because Pharaoh had these dreams, he was able to go in and interpret them. God had an amazing plan for Joseph, and it was an amazing one indeed. So here it is. Think about this. He had to say, look, this isn't about me. I'm going to do, again, I am going to serve the Lord. The Lord has made me with an ability to handle these dreams and to tell people what these dreams are. But he makes it not about him again. He says, this isn't me, but God working through me to tell you what this dream is, Pharaoh. It's God working through me. It's not me. I'm pitifully inept. But God is working through me to give you these answers, and working through me to lead in the prison, and working through me to lead in Potiphar's house. Whatever it may have been, God was working through him to do that, and he gave him credit. He died to self. Listen, he died to self. For I am crucified with Christ, yet now I live, not I, but Christ who lives in me. It's not about me, it's about Christ living in me. I've died to self. It's not about me. But it was about to be about him because God was about to exalt him because he had been humble. Okay? And that's where we'll catch up next time. Remember, folks, remember. All of this that you're going through is about to create a group of people and individuals who can change this county, can change the state, and change this nation, praise God. He is creating them, but it is going to be completely and utterly awful at times, and we're not going to know, and we're going to look up and go, how in the world did this happen? How in the world did this ever happen this way? It's because God is using his children and disciplining them and getting them through to make them what they ought to be. Love you guys.